I just felt so lost. Why does this work for other kids but not my kids? I just felt so guilty. Knowing this information, I was freaking out that I am messing my kids up, and at this point I needed help. This one conversation changed everything. That tip alone, I don't know, saved me from bruising myself, saved me from hurting myself. It gave me so much confidence in myself as an autistic mother of autistic kids, because I was sitting across the table from a woman who was so strong. It makes me feel less alone, and this is so priceless. Can we be an amazing parent even with neurodivergence like autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety? And the answer is yes, and that is through awareness. This is what this whole channel is about. In today's video, we're going to talk about whether you should get an autism coach to help you in your family situation, to manage your family, to manage your neurodivergent kids. What kind of things that an autism coach could help you with, and the life-changing benefits, the priceless benefits of investing a couple of $100s to work with an autistic coach can have on you as a parent and on your kids. Check out the timestamps below in the descriptions to jump to the exact place that is relevant for you right now. You've just found out that your kid is autistic, and you've been through all the stages of this information, the shock of it. Then comes the grief, then comes reconciling with this new reality, and finally comes acceptance. Not only that, through the acceptance process, you may have also uncovered your own neurodivergence. You might have realized through reading the literature or the symptoms, or answering the questions from the psychologists when they screened your kid, that, wait a minute, a lot of these apply to me also. And you've come to a realization that, oh my goodness, I am also on the spectrum. I am autistic. I'm an adult, I'm a mother or father, and I'm autistic. Let's let that sink in for a moment. What do you do now? You're starting to look at your own behavior and interactions with your kid and realize that sometimes it's not only your kid who's being difficult, sometimes you are also reacting in an extreme way. Now, under the new light of autism or the spectrum, you're realizing that many of your reactions were also quite autistic. For example, maybe you blew up at your kids in an uncontrollable way, meaning you reacted to them being whatever, weird, difficult, in a much disproportionate way than the situation called for. Looking back, you're realizing, oh wait, that was an autistic meltdown. Autistic meltdowns are when you have no control over what your body is doing or what your emotions are doing anymore. You really become this, like, jump out of your body, like that scene in Doctor Strange where his soul has like jumped out of his body and his body is absolutely no longer in his control. That's kind of what meltdown feels like. You're starting to see that in the past you've behaved this way with your kids, and you want to change. You're constantly asking yourself, am I effing my kids up? Because you realize that the way you're reacting to them is disproportionate to them being difficult. At this stage, you're starting to look for help. You've hit a wall. You can no longer just figure it out by yourself. And the worst part is, the more parenting blogs and literature and books, whatever you read, you're realizing that, wait, this works for all those other families, but why doesn't it work for my family? I have been in this situation where it literally makes me want to pull out my hair or bang my head on the wall. And maybe this is an autistic thing, but I have actually banged my head on the floor a couple of times in a meltdown. And sometimes some of my family members have witnessed it. So you can imagine, I'm asking myself constantly, me behaving this way, me having this sort of a meltdown to the point where I'm not even realizing that I'm hurting myself in a really weird way, like in a really not normal way. Like, what kind of mom ends up on the floor and her head is on the floor in like a child's position. When you can no longer bear this burden of, am I effing my kids up by being the way I am with them, this is when you need to go and look for help. Not just Googling, not just information, but you need to find another person, another human being who you can talk to, who will hear you, who will listen, and who has been there before. This is the most important part. They have walked that difficult road before of being the parent of an autistic kid, and they will understand you. Suddenly you won't have this feeling anymore that, this works for all those other families, this works for that mom and that kid and that neighbor, whatever. Why doesn't it work for my kids? Why doesn't this simple routine work for my kids? Why doesn't this way of speaking or communicating work for them? Why doesn't this schedule or this hack or this trick, why doesn't it work for my kids? Why doesn't it work for me? I was at this stage a couple months after finding out that my son is autistic, and we found out about him when he was 4.5 years old. And through the process of understanding his autism, I realized that I'm also on the spectrum. I just felt so guilty. I felt so guilty that I was damaging my kids, that I was ruining their future. I was making them prone to being mentally, having mental health issues in their future because of some of the ways that I'm acting, which might cause them trauma. I am a trained family constellation therapist, so I know a lot about the origins of trauma. There is a high correlation between adults who have mental health challenges growing up in families or with parents who have had mental health challenges themselves. One of the ACE criteria, adverse childhood experiences, one of them is growing up in a family where one parent had a mental disability. Now, autism spectrum disorder is considered a disability, and it is a disability that affects your mental capacity, emotional capacity, social capacity. So of course, growing up with such a parent has consequences. The ACE study was done in 1995 until 97. So back then, and the chances of the parents of the study participants knowing that they are neurodivergent was close to zero. So this is where the risk is when you're not aware of your traits, your characteristics, your neurodiversity, your mental health challenges, then you are absolutely not in a position to even start to gain control of yourself in difficult situations or in regular day-to-day life. Knowing this information, I was freaking out that I am messing my kids up, and at this point I needed help. So I Googled what kind of help is nearby, and I wanted to go to a parents group. I wanted to go to like an autistic parents group, and through this I found an Autism Coach who runs parent support group. The moment I found her, I couldn't wait to call her. Normally I am very uncomfortable on the phone, and I avoid phone conversations with strangers at all costs, but in this situation I just couldn't wait. I shyly picked up my phone and I called her. And the first thing I told her is, well, my kid is diagnosed autistic, and through that I've realized that I am also, and I am so worried that I'm hurting them. I actually said that. I mean, I'm not hurting them physically or anything like that, but just with my behavior, my meltdowns or sometimes shutdowns, I was worried that I'm emotionally effing them up. So I shared that with her, and in the process, I started crying. Like I started crying to a total stranger on the phone. The exact point where I started to cry is where I was just telling her that one sentence on her website resonated with me so much. In her website, she's used that sentence. She said, "Why does this work for other kids but not my kids? Why do the routines, the tips, suggestions work for other families but not my family?" As I was telling her this is why I felt like I could call her, I just started to cry, because this has been my reality since I became a mother. She was so supportive. She shared with me right away that she herself is on the spectrum, and she has 2 kids who are quite high needs and also naturally on the spectrum, and she knows where I'm coming from. She's from the local area. She knows the social challenges. She knows the challenges that I would face in the school system as my kids grow up. And she was like, "Okay, when do you want to meet?" I picked the earliest available slot, and she was kind enough to come over to my house and sit down at our dinner table and have a face-to-face conversation. This one conversation changed everything. It gave me so much confidence in myself as an autistic mother of autistic kids, because I was sitting across the table from a woman who was so strong. She shared her story. She said when her kids started to go to kindergarten, every morning was a battle. She would manage to get him there. She'd come home and collapse in tears. She would cry and then go back to bed because it was so draining and exhausting just to get him to school. I have experienced this on some mornings. Now she openly says, "No, I fight for my kids. I fight against the school system. I fight against the teachers. I fight against the doctors if I need to, because I need to fight and to get my kids what they need." I saw this woman and I was mesmerized and I was so comforted, and I'm like, wow, you're a confident fighter, you're a warrior, and I want to be like you, and I know that it's possible. Not only that, she is the one who introduced me to theory of mind, and just understanding this concept has shifted my perspective about all my relationships. I have a short video introducing that. You can watch it right here. She also connected me to a network of other autistic parents or parents of autistic kids locally, and just being in their company makes me see that my kid is not going to be alone. Actually, there are other kids right around us who are in this situation who are needing this extra support, and that's okay. Another tip she gave me that absolutely changed my life is she encouraged me to take time for myself. And if she hadn't done that, then I would never have even given myself permission to start this YouTube channel. And this channel has been such an avenue for me to express myself, to connect with others out there who have very similar struggles to I do, which is actually a very small percentage of the population. It makes me feel less alone, and this is so priceless. She also helped me to identify my triggers. So I made another video about triggers and the importance of recognizing what your child is doing that is triggering you, which is causing you to lose control and go into a meltdown, an autistic or ADHD meltdown. And what happens in the meltdown, I'll reiterate here, you lose control of yourself. At that point, no matter how educated you are or how woke you are, it's not going to help you. You're not going to be able to control yourself consciously. So it's so important to know what triggers you, that what exactly your kids are doing that are triggering you. And she helped me to list out all those triggers so that I'm just more aware of them. Huge tip she gave me, which is to always carry a stress ball. Instead of hitting yourself, squeeze this ball. And that tip alone, saved me from bruising myself, saved me from hurting myself. Because what happens when an autistic person hits themselves is that it hurts. And when it hurts, your anger just gets more and more and more. Your anger rises. So now you're not only angry about a situation that caused you to hit yourself, but you're also in pain and you're feeling even more wronged. So this feeling of frustration just spirals out of control, and an autistic person can really draw themselves inwards, cut themselves off from the whole world outside when they actually hit themselves. So her tip, stop that pattern, stop that really painful pattern in me. And that also is valued a lot higher than the very minimal amount I paid her for coaching. To summarize, I 100% recommend working with an autism coach to help your particular family situation, because they have been there before. They understand you at a level that nobody else can, not even your parents, not even your partner, because they have had very similar to that unique situation which you are walking now. So here, of course, you're going to have to do the research and find somebody who has overcome the same struggles that you are facing right now. But once you find that person, it's absolutely worth investing a couple of $100 in working with somebody that is going to give you priceless benefits for you, for yourself, your self-care, and for your kids, their well-being, and their future mental health. How much does it cost to work with an autistic coach? Well, in the part of the world where I am, costs about $120 per hour, and this can also be like a home visit, but depending on who you find, a lot of coaches like to work in a package, so they will get you to sign up to work with them over a 3 or 6 month period. This way they can really take their time to understand your situation better, to follow up with you, to follow the development and the progress of your kid, your family situation, and so on. And this can cost between, just from my basic research, up to $2,000 for a 6 month package. And in my opinion, this is worth it. If your family can afford it, it's worth it. And if this sort of a price point is outside of your family budget, then there are therapists out there who work on an hourly basis, like the one I've worked with, and coaches who charge much less. Or you can also approach a coach who charges a lot and ask them, look, this is my neurodivergent family situation. Can you meet me halfway? Can you help us out? Just ask, because this person has been where you are and they know the struggle, and you'll be surprised that many of them might just say yes. If you've ever worked with an autism coach and have anything to share, please put it in the comments, because our community here on this channel is very interactive and we are constantly learning from each other. If you have a coach you want to personally recommend, drop their name in the comments below. And check out my playlist, either here or here. I still can't figure out where it shows up, on neurodivergent parenting, struggles, issues, wins, all that good stuff. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.